I'm here. How's everybody doing? Welcome. Welcome once again to a Thursday evening spent by my side. MrWarrenHayes. How are you all doing? I hope you are all having a lovely week. I hope it's been the week of your dreams. I've been having a lovely time so far. It's been a good week. It's still a very good, it's been a very good week for your boy, I gotta tell you. You know how I've been mentioning recently how, you know, the work, like the shoot work, you know, it's very busy at this time of year. It's like the busiest time of year. I got tons of shit done this week. So my workload isn't as bad. Plus, I even got to offload some, which is tremendous. And things are just going well. And I've got a good busy week. So next week as well, you know, things are good. Things are good. We haven't seen each other since last Thursday, correct? Yeah, because there was no stream on Monday because of the Double or Nothing, and I got into the Double or Nothing, and I was doing I got into the Double or Nothing, and I did the review on Monday evening. But so yeah, it's been a while. Hope everyone's doing good. I ended up watching the Seven Samurai, the Kurosawa film, this weekend with Kristen, who had never seen it at this point. Which is like, I feel so stupid not having seen it. You know, it's never too late to get into art. It's never too late to acquaint yourself with great art. I believe that. So we watched that. You know, you sort of have to make an event out of it because it's a nearly 4-hour movie. And then it's crazy. And I hadn't seen the movie since the 90s easily. And it's crazy when you look at the movie again, you know, especially, you know, a little older, whatnot, you revisit it. And then like everything that this fucking movie influenced is crazy. Like just influence after influence. Thank you very much for the subscription. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. Like it's just bonkers to me the amount of the amount of movies that were influenced and just straight up ripped off. Like, let's be honest here. You know, it was tremendous. And then you see like all of the technical marvels, that they were doing, like, you know, in regards to lighting and whatnot in 1954, that movie was shot. It's just absolutely fucking remarkable. Like, it's just the most remarkable piece of film. Where you're like, nowadays, you know, all this lighting will be added on in post via CGI or maybe AI, and it'll look like shit, you know, because all fucking movies these days, all the lighting looks the same. It's all the same thing. And everything has a fucking blue filter on it, right? You're looking at this fucking black and white film, this true to form epic, and the cast of seven are just they're so likable. Just like, come on, let's go. It's a legitimately, it is one of the great works of art of the human existence. It's one of the things that like when the sun eventually supernovas and consumes everything that we've done here on Earth. That's one of the things that reality will mourn, losing Seven Samurai as a film. Anyway, so that's what I've been up to, and working real hard to be able to free myself and whatnot. And so there you go. That's the big thing. Oh, I think doesn't the Backrooms movie, doesn't that come out like this weekend? Isn't it like today or tomorrow? Something like that, right? It's probably already out, or it's out tomorrow. It's out this weekend, right? I think I might go see the Backrooms with my son. We'll go out and hit the movie Metroplex, the Megaplex, and sit down and watch people clip through walls. Apparently, it's very good, and you know, I'm ready to give it a shot. I'm ready to give it a shot because I know we talked about it last week, so I don't want to go over everything again. But you know, most of the things that exist regarding the Backrooms on Twitter, not on Twitter, on YouTube, things that I've watched in the past, it's like, all right, come on, is something ever going to happen? Because most of it is just someone walking through these back rooms and breathing heavily, and then they hear something and go. But I'm sure the addition of actors is going to help. You know, I have faith. The reviews seem to have been very good. Also, Mina the Hollower is being released tomorrow from the good people at the Yacht Club Games, who did the Shovel Knight. And I'm very excited to see. Like, it's a game that I might not end up playing. Because apparently it does. Because apparently, you know, the combat does inspire itself from the From Software series of games, and I stink at those. I legitimately stink. And everyone can say get good all you want. I could get good. I don't have time. I just, you know, look. If I were 14 years old all over again. And I'd probably, I'd plunk down and be like, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. But during the course of a week, the amount of time that I can spend playing video games is so extremely limited now, between taking care of everyone, between work, between taking care of myself, watching wrestling, doing this goofy shit about wrestling. I have a very limited amount of time that I can give to pro wrestling, to video games. So a game that is basically, you know, its core mechanic is try again. You know, I can't do it. I just can't. I can't spend, let's say, 2 hours out of the 5 hours I have for gaming. I'm just throwing something out there. 2 hours out of 5 hours of gaming to progress like 5% in a video game. That's bonkers. That's preposterous. I can't do that. It's preposterous, it tells you. Anyway, we're here to talk about pro wrestling. It looked like I had lint, but there's no lint, right? I'm not linty. I'm wearing the same thing that I wore on today's Dynamite review, which is available right now on the channel that you can listen to whenever you like. For a Dynamite last night that I enjoyed, I thought was pretty good. I enjoyed last night's Dynamite. Definitely had some real high points. Definitely had some other points. I think there was more good than bad on the show, really, quite frankly. And that Kevin Knight promo, man, I thought it was awesome. Like, he had to score with that promo, and it, you know, coming out, start of the show. Like, when you think about it, the last thing you saw in ring at the pay-per-view this weekend at Double or Nothing was Kevin Knight, and the first thing you see in ring when you start Dynamite is Kevin Knight. But I thought he knocked it out of the park. I thought he was very, very good. I thought he was very, very good in that promo. I think the heel vibe suits him better. But But yeah, good overall little episode of Dynamite, which I break down in furious detail. And then there we go. That's it. That's pretty much it. But let's say hello to some people before we get too deep in the weeds. DGMC, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, brother. Also, member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. I'm here for the Negro Casas watch party. You've done that one before. Please update your material. AW1, nice to see you too. Also, member of the channel. Who got 2 thumbs, any ticket to AEW Redemption? I don't know. A lot of people have 2 thumbs. Congratulations. I did not get mine yet because I'm tapping the side of my head like any good pro wrestler. I always laugh. It always makes me smile. Maybe not laugh, but it always makes me smile when pro wrestlers tap the side of their head when after doing something like remotely smart. It's always funny to me. But yeah, my temple tapping moment here. I'm waiting till we're closer to the event to pay less money because I love AEW. There's no fucking way they're putting 21,000 people into the Bell Center. I know it's 21,000 without the setup, blah, 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 blah. I know, I understand. I'm not a fucking idiot, okay? There's gonna be tons of tickets. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Plus, the crazy thing, and I think it's you, Travis, right? Who or someone on Blue Sky pointed this out. It's like, that's the last day of the Just for Laughs festival on top of that. And the hotel rooms in Montreal that weekend are going to be crazy expensive. Like, it's going to be crazy. Thankfully, I know some places. And maybe some people. Maybe I can, phone a friend. Just to stay over the one night. Anyway. DJ Convoy, nice to see you, brother. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. Oh, I'm sorry you've been having a shitty week. I'm sorry. I will try to make it better here on my end. For you. I'm still annoyed at the cretin on Reddit who tried to draw... cretin is a good word, isn't it? It's underutilized nowadays. I'm still annoyed at the cretin on Reddit who tried to draw a parallel between Progress being sold for, let's face it, penny on the dollar to wrestlers and the sale of New Japan to TV Asahi Cyber Agent. Why? What's the parallel? What's the parallel you could possibly draw? What are the similitudes here? There's one promotion that was sold to a couple of wrestlers and the other one was sold to a major Japanese media conglomerate. What is the parallel here? If you had told me, Tomoaki Hanma and Hiroyoshi Tanzan bought New Japan, I'd be like, oh, okay, sure. We're kind of in the same ball game then, I guess. Could you imagine this promotion being run by Hanma and Tensai? Anyway. Mr. Antox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It's good to see you. Same to you, Silver Apocalypse. Hello, hello. Great to see you as well. Also a member of the channel, just member with another account. Hope you get that one back soon. Sports and Things Shows, nice to see you, Carlos. Welcome to the chat. What's this? I thought the boys finale was all right. Way better than Stranger Things, and MK2 was really fun. Oh, is Mortal Kombat 2 out? Yeah, well, I didn't even realize. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm probably gonna do that during my vacation. Binge the boys. I'm probably gonna do that. I'm probably gonna do that to make me feel better if I'm covering the G1. See? I've seen 007 First Light. Some of it looks really good. It's getting good reviews. It can't be bad. There's Mads Mikkelsen in it. Mads Mikkelsen is tremendous. So it can't be bad. The pacing of Kevin Knight's promo was pretty whack. I didn't think it was that bad. I understand. I see why. I can see why you have that opinion. That's valid. I get it. I understand. I didn't think it was all that bad. I didn't think it was bad at all, actually. I thought it was very good. The new Star Wars movie is out. Oh God, that I know it's out because I feel like every day I log into any social media and that's all people are talking about. Like it's split down the middle. It's either like you loved the Grogu or you hated the Grogu. Like, oh my God. I'm excited to see that that one movie that they're doing with what's his name? Not Ryan Reynolds, the other guy. You know, I'm talking about the La La Land guy, the driver guy. You know, that guy. Why am I? We should know it. Ken from the Barbie. Fuck. What's his name, Chad? I don't want to type it. Or are you just gonna leave me hanging? Gosling. Thank you, Cola the Lodger. Nice to see you. By the way, welcome to the chat. You member of the channel, you. It's good to see you back. Ryan Gosling. I'm excited to see that one. But you know what? I think Star Wars should do more things like Andor. But I also understand they have toys to sell, and you're not gonna sell many toys based off of that. Well, I forget his name, but the one Imperial guy, you know, who schmoozes his way to the top. You know, who senses something's wrong and he shacks up with the lady, with the Imperial blonde lady. That guy, like, you're not gonna sell many toys based off of that dude. Anyway, just like you wouldn't sell many toys based off of Warren Hayes. Like, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm being high and mighty here. You'd sell 0 Warren Hayes toys, regardless of how this goes. So, yeah, so I'm back. How does one stream? How do we, how do you stream? We got all of this, right? We got all of this. Mike McCullough, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, member of the channel. The nerdy fascist figure. Wait, is that me? Wait, what? You're talking about the Star Wars guy, right? Andor was like its own thing, too good for Star Wars, some would say. Sure, yes. I figured it was a bit. I was figuring. But no, like, too good for Star Wars, or maybe too brave to go in that direction for Star Wars. I don't know, like there's always this there's always this idea that they have to, oh, but they got to sell toys. It's like, how many, like, I am legitimately curious. Like, in our day and age, in the good year of our Lord 2026, how many actual children are into Star Wars these days? Because I really do feel like it's more like adults. It's more like a nostalgia thing now, right? But like I'm disconnected now in regards to what kids like because my own children are grown up. But like when my oldest was a kid, the trilogies had started, right? The second run of trilogies. The prequels, they had started up. So, you know, you had the kids going around at school and they had, like, you know, the clone trooper backpacks and, you know, and they, you know, whatever else. I remember like it was clone trooper stuff everywhere around here. And and they were really into it, right? I don't. So now that I don't go to toy stores to purchase toys for Christmas and stuff like that anymore. I haven't done that in a couple of years now. I don't know. Are kids still into Star Wars? I mean children. Are children still into Star Wars? Because I feel like everything. I feel like there's my theory. If I were to sit down and like do a research paper, is my theory is that Star Wars, regardless of who their target audience, regardless of the target audience they're trying to hit by putting out a movie or a series, the target audience is always adults. Even if they say, "Oh, we got it, we're trying to get children or families," no, it's grown adults who are going to consume this first and foremost. I feel, but you see, like it's a gut feeling. My gut is pretty right. You got to be honest. I got a good gut. It's a gut you could. It's a gut you can set your watch to. Here's something you don't hear every day. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you and welcome. Big Man Dogs, nice to see you too. I'm super out of the loop on modern Star Wars. I wish they did something Old Republic related. Aren't they doing something with... didn't I read that they're doing something with Knights of the Old Republic? Anyway. Maybe Yoda hooked a lot of them, but yeah, parents making kids play with their old toys. Brother, that was me. That was me. You get you go back to your parent. I go back to my parents' house, and I'd fiddle through the old stuff, and I'm like, holy shit, it's my box of Star Wars toys. Holy fuck, the Millennium Falcon. Look at this. And the droid base builder thing, you know, and that was actually pretty cool because it was a thing where you could actually build droids, and they were all like these plastic parts with like just little joints that you could stick into, you know, body parts and whatnot. You could make all these wacky robots, all of that. And I had a shitload of action figures. I had the death. My action figure container was a Darth Vader head. So you'd open up Darth Vader's head and look at all my action figures, you know. I get all of that. What I do, I bring it home. My oldest son, my youngest wasn't born yet. Bring that to my, look at all these toys. He goes, "Oh, Dad, look at all these toys." I got the Jabba the Hutt too. Yeah, the Jabba the Hutt with the thing that he sits on. And then you move them, and then you can open up the base, like, and pretend like it's the Sarlacc pit, you know, and not the Sarlacc pit, the Rancor pit, but it's not really, you know. But you can throw people in there, and it came with a little Salacious Crumb. And then I had his advisor Bib Fortuna, right, with the big tentacle, which actually is his brain. The advisor that stands next to, I don't know if you know this. In Return of the Jedi, the advisor that stands next to Darth Vader, and not Darth Vader, Jabba the Hutt, you know, and he's whispering things into him, and he looks really sinister, and he's got this really big tentacle coming out of his head. That's the motherfucker's brain. You slice that thing off, and he's got, you know, he's lobotomized. And I had a little Salacious Crumb, and it was I had so much Star Wars shit. I was really into it when I was a kid. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm gonna flex my amazing childhood. It was pretty rad. I was pretty basic too. I had the G.I. Joes. And I had a lot of Masters of the Universe too. And the G.I. Joe, like the biggest thing that I had from it, because of course the Millennium Falcon, Millennium Falcon, of course, is the pièce de résistance, right? It's like that's the big deal, you know. It's huge and it fucking rocks. And the biggest set piece that I had for the G.I. Joes was the hovercraft. That was a big fucking thing. And you could even put other vehicles in it. That's how big it was. Like if you had smaller vehicles, like let's say like some motorcycles, you know, with a sidecar, you could go put that right in there, and you could because it's a hovercraft, it's transport shit, and then you could push it, and it could float. It could float too. My mother advised me not to put it in bodies of water, which is probably wise. But it could float. Yeah, it was awesome. And I had a lot of Masters of the Universe too. I had some Transformers. Masters of the Universe, I didn't have any big set pieces. One of my friends had Castle Grayskull, and I was very fucking envious. I remember being very, very angry at the fact that he had Castle Grayskull and I did not. Envy is a sin, kids. I'll never forget that. And I had some Transformers, but I had some like low-level Transformers. You had GoBots? I had a GoBot too. My favorite GoBot, do you remember, maybe some of you do, the GoBots for a while, yeah, I know I'm a nerd, who cares? We're pro wrestling fans. What do you want from me? There was a spin-off of the GoBots called the Rock Lords. Do you guys remember this? Does anyone remember this? And the Rock Lords were basically like these robots, like GoBots, but instead of transforming into like cool cars or, you know, airplanes or flying saucers or whatever, they transformed into boulders. It's the weirdest, which is still like the weirdest thing. But I had one of those GoBots and it was Nugget and he was like a little gold boulder. And he legitimately was the coolest of the GoBots. To me, in my mind, in the headcanon that I had created for myself, he was like the Bumblebee. What Bumblebee was for the Autobots, Nugget was for the Rock Lords, but he was look it up, pull up your Google page right now and take a look. Like it was a really cool design for a robot. He had flaps, he had, you know, and then he had his arms that would hide under the flaps, and he had a really cool, like little, very classic robot head under another flap. It was a cool design, but Rock Lords is so fucking stupid. Like, it's really dumb. Like, who was like, yeah, my robots can transform into rocks. It's so stupid. You know, designing toys in the 80s must have been a blast in those boardrooms. Let me tell you. It was something else. I loved Lego Star Wars as a kid, both the video games and the actual Legos. Well, see, there's the difference between you and I. There were no Lego Star Wars when I was a kid. I had a lot of Lego as well, but the Lego that I had was just like the generic, you know, the generic kits, or, you know, because there wasn't any branding. There wasn't any. It was just like, build your own shit, you fucking little motherfuckers. Use your imagination, build something, you know, type of thing. That was officially the slogan for Lego in the 80s. Build your own fucking things, you little motherfuckers. That was. You don't remember those commercials? That would be at the end. Build your own fucking things, you little motherfuckers. Use your fucking imagination. There you go. Hey, D. Owens, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also member of the channel. Aluminum Falcon is what I called my bike as a kid. So that's pretty rad. That's pretty rad. There's another movie coming out in a few weeks, a remake of Masters of the Universe. I have thoughts on that. And my main thought is Skeletor. You want to hear this is my take. This is why I know this Masters of the Universe movie is not going to work out as it should. And why anything else. The one thing that any reboot that we've had of Masters of the Universe has failed to understand is that Skeletor, in his essence, at his very basis, is a moron. He is not an evil genius. He surrounds himself with idiots because he doesn't know any better. He's an idiot himself. Why do you think he had been, like in the old TV show, why he was constantly one-upped when they introduced Hordak, right? You remember that? When they brought Hordak in, Hordak was like the villain that the villains were afraid of. Why was that? Because Hordak was a real villain, not a fucking moron like Skeletor. Skeletor was just a guy who liked to be evil, but then would always bungle his plans mostly because of his own fucking decisions. And that's what we've never figured out. That's what no reboot of the Masters of the Universe has figured out since, is that Skeletor ultimately is a big dummy. They want to establish him like he's this big force of evil. You're like, nah. That's not what made Skeletor. It's not what made him interesting. And He-Man, not necessarily any smarter either. Just so happens that his arch nemesis is dumber than he is. He's just like, oh, well, just got to counter this really stupid thing, or, sucker Beast Man into doing this thing that'll foil this plan over here. The people of Eternia weren't the sharpest tools in the shed, folks. And that's what we're failing to understand with all of this. It was campy, it was silly, it was dumb, and it was cartoonish. And Skeletor wasn't really a huge force of evil. He was a failure. So, it's like, so now they got fucking Jared Leto to do it, right? Jared Leto to do Skeletor. It's like, of course, you completely missed the mark. Skeletor needs to be portrayed as a bungling idiot. There's got to be comedy to what he does. If he's taken too seriously and too much of a menace, you're like, you're missing the point. You're completely missing the point. And that's why they've never been able to properly reestablish Masters of the Universe as a popular franchise, because they miss the essence of it. Now, when you reboot Masters of the Universe and it just comes across as any other outer space hero stuff, where it's just good guys and bad guys. Oh, the villain is so villainous, the hero is so heroic. But you go back and you watch some of the old 80s Masters of the Universe and like, no, this is too silly and campy, and that's what made its charm. Hey, like Cringer, right? Cringer. The boy's got a tiger, and the tiger's afraid of its own shot. Cringer, and we're supposed to take this seriously, right? Now Cringer is like Battle Cat all the time, or whatever the fuck, right? Anyway, that. Thank you. That was my Masters of the Universe rant for tonight. I always thought the GoBots looked cooler than the Transformers. My neighborhood was a Transformers neighborhood, so I wasn't very exposed to the GoBots. So I have no point of comparison. I remember them, it was like the GoBots answers to the Transformer dinosaurs, which is still so dumb. The Rock Lords is such a bad idea. I had the Hovercraft too. I fucked it up taking it into the bath all the time. And my mother was very on to me. She knew I'd go down that route. Top 3 all-time Christmas. Oh, for real. For real. And it's such a big box, man. It was so cool. They did a shitty movie of the Rock Lords. I got to seek that out now. It's got to be up on YouTube somewhere, right? That sounds like a lot of fun. I liked Medabots. It was like anime Transformers, kind of. I have never heard of Medabots. Medabots. Never heard of that. They had some super cool fossil toys that never came out. That doesn't ring a bell. Again, if it was GoBots related, it missed the mark with me. I think Star Wars was the first licensed Lego. Yeah, I probably, I don't know, but it would make a lot of sense. I vividly remember being a kid and being shown old unlicensed Legos and being confused. I seen Leto said that he was not happy with it. I don't care. I don't care if Jared Leto is happy or not with his performances. He can go fly a kite. Pedro the Fifth. Skeletor is the Shockmaster. Changed my mind. I'm not gonna. I like that. I like that. Am I the only one that thinks the name He-Man is weird? Yeah, like DJ Convoy says, it's an old-timey American idiom where it's like a really buff, like a hunk, you know, like a hunk, like a big buff, good-looking guy, you know, that was very strong. Yeah. Look, was it a good name? That we can still argue about. But you know, look, they wanted to do Conan the Barbarian for kids. That was ultimately the plan, you know, and they're not going to call him Cromanon, you know, or you know, Croanon. They're not going to do that. You're going to get sued. You know, they call him He-Man. And it's not, but the naming conventions, right, in Masters of the Universe, it always had to do with what you looked like. So you didn't have to search really hard. He-Man was because he was buff, Skeletor because he's a skeleton. And then you had Three-Face. Why? Because he had, you had many faces. Why? Because he had many faces. You had Triclops. Why? Because he had one single eye on 3 different sides of his head. Beastman, well, because he was a beast man, you know. So you know, we're not. It wasn't Fisto. What do you think? What do you think the idea was with Fisto? What do you think? What do you think the problem was with Fisto? Yeah, you got it. You know, and there was Mossman. I actually had Mossman as an action figure for Masters of the Universe, and his special thing was that he smelled like moss. So you know, you pull him out and he smells like car freshener. You know? That's like a pine car freshener. Well, what do you think Mossman's thing was? He's covered in moss. Ram Man. What did you think Ram Man did? Well, man at arms. Well, it's not that he had many arms. He was a man at arms. Anyway. Didn't they make a Conan cartoon back then? Yeah, that was later. Yeah, like in the 90s. No wrestling talk in the 80s Toys podcast. No, sir. All my surface knowledge of 80s toys. Man, if I started an 80s Toys podcast, it'd be the absolute worst because everything is like super. I would be like so surface level. Because you've got these guys who talk about the molds and who designed the molds and, you know, and all that. And like, yeah, you know, the problem with the Chewbacca Kenner mold, you know, is like sometimes it didn't print right on his strap that he wears over his shoulder. So sometimes the black would mix in with the brown, which was the base color, right? Right, guys? Yeah, you'd be perfect for this, Convoy, honestly. I'd be like, I'd just like listen to you talk and then I'd make snide comments. Would be pretty much it. Okay. Yeah, and Evil Lynn is another excellent example. She is evil and her name is Lynn. You'd be the TikTok raw review. Yo, boy, you sure are pushing me towards doing it. All right. It's time to get into this. How you doing, Meggie? Welcome to the chat, you member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Yeah, we got to get our focus back here. He's going to whip us into shape here.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself.
All right.
I'm Nunchuck Master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling.
Yeah, Jacques coming in is like, toys are for sissies. Nunchucks are for men. Our boy Jacques has got this under control. He's got this under control. And you know, since I haven't been here for a couple of weeks.
How you doing, everybody? Don't mess with me because I'm from Staten Island, New York. Do you want to get a little more action up in here? Mountain State Wrestling is real. That's right, you can't say it's fake. Have you get hit with a steel chair and walk away and say it ain't all right.
It ain't all right.
It is all right.
It is all right.
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
We hardcore.
We hardcore.
Mountain State Wrestling.
That's right.
Represent West Virginia. Take it back to New York City.
Staten Island.
Back in the street when we was keeping it real, rocking that beat.
All right. Never need that guy. You know, I just realized as I was listening to this rap, we should share this one to people on Blue Sky who complain about pro wrestling, who think that we think it's fake. You know, those people. We should share that. How do you think it's? How do you think? Yeah, you take a chair shot and think it's all right. It ain't all right. That's right. That's right, Jacques. You get it. You're keeping it alive. Hey, Mr. Warren Hayes show's been out this week on Wednesday. Got all the stuff right there for you. There's a Dynamite review that was out today. Programming note. Just as a reminder, we talked about it last week, but I mean, last week has been so long ago. There will not be a live stream. Am I having indigestion again? I'm fine. We will not be having a live stream. This is a great wrestling podcast so far. Great stream, Warren. Great pro wrestling stream so far. Just absolutely excellent. You're overcoming everything, and you're just like surprising everyone with how deep and profound your knowledge is. Monday, there will be no live stream. I have work-related responsibilities. So there will not be a live stream on Monday. However, I will put together a Mr. Warren Hayes show release on Wednesday because I'm not going to be around much till midweek, I'd say. And then the Dynamite review is going to be delayed. It will not. There will be a Dynamite review next week. It just won't be on Thursday. But if everything goes according to plan, there will be a stream on Thursday evening. So and then after that, we should be done with the goofy schedules for a while. Because for the past couple of weeks, the schedule has been a little goofy, but we should get back. We should get things back on track. So just to reiterate, no live stream on Monday. Dynamite review next Thursday will be delayed. I'm not sure when. Maybe Friday, maybe Saturday, whenever I get a chance to listen to Dynamite, essentially. But there will be a Dynamite review. It will just be a little later in the week, and but there will be a stream next Thursday. So there you go. Why don't we start tonight by talking about a very big bit of news that came out yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. We're recording this on the 28th, so on the 27th, this news came out early in the morning for us over here on the Eastern Seaboard, where Bushiroad essentially, as this headline from Post Wrestling that we're about to read of this article on Post Wrestling that we're going to read. This is, oh my God. Bushiroad transfers all shares in New Japan Pro Wrestling to TV Asahi and Cyber Agent. Essentially, what we're saying here is that Bushiroad sold New Japan to TV Asahi and Cyber Agent. I don't know. That's a pretty well. No. Well, maybe I'll just go with the gist of it. How about that? Well, instead of reading the article, I think what I'll do is I'll just go with the gist of it, because it seems to be a pretty long article, and I do want to add some thoughts here. And there was, look, I think we're all aware of the basics, but then on top of that, like Dave Meltzer added some analysis on his side on the paywall. He added a few more on the Observer paywall. He added a few more things, a little more detail, and I want to give some thoughts on that as well. I want to put them out there and give some thoughts. So essentially, Bushiroad, right, the owner of New Japan Pro Wrestling, as we mentioned, sold its entire stake in the promotion to TV Asahi and Cyber Agent, with each company now holding approximately 46% of the promotion, and the 8%, the remaining 8% stays with minority shareholders. Bushiroad cited the shifting media landscape as the reason for the sale, saying TV Asahi ownership would better serve New Japan Pro Wrestling's video and digital strategy. I guess, look, this is the closest and best thing. I'm assuming that a wrestling promotion in Japan in this era can get to. This is the closest they can get to having a media deal, is to be outright purchased by a media conglomeration like Cyber Agent, who owns, who also who is also partnered up, not owns, but is also partnered up with a TV network. That's the closest thing. Bushiroad, for all it's done for New Japan over the years, it's a trading card company. It's gotcha games, it's collectibles, it's that kind of environment, and they had purchased New Japan in the spirit of wanting to capitalize on the IP to be able to create their own collectible cards, digital collectible cards and stuff like that, which they did do to a limited success, I would say. I don't think it turned into the cash cow that they had hoped it to be, because it was typically negligible, the amount of money that New Japan would bring in on that front. So that's kind of nuts. That's kind of nuts. Well, it's kind of nuts that New Japan now is like with an owner that has like actual media contacts instead of gotcha game contacts, I guess. This is not the first time, of course, that New Japan has been sold. It was, as you remember, founded in 1972 by Antonio Inoki, sold to Yuke's in 2005 during arguably the lowest period in the history of the company, acquired then by Bushiroad in 2012, and that's the golden age. Like, that's the big boom period, where they had, of course, stars like Tanahashi and Okada and Naito and Nakamura and Kenny Omega, just to name those, of course. Cyber Agent, in case you're wondering, what the hell is a Cyber Agent? That sounds like a 1999 PlayStation 1 game. Well, that's not what it is. Cyber Agent is a major entertainment and technology conglomerate that already owns 3 wrestling promotions: DDT, Pro Wrestling Noah, and Tokyo Joshi Pro, and under the Cyber Fight subsidiary. And and as many of you know as well, it operates the Wrestle Universe streaming platform, which is widely considered to be the best streaming experience for wrestling fans. The big open question, essentially, at this point is, what happens? Early on, anyways, what happens to New Japan World, right? That was one thing that everyone sort of going, hey, what's the deal here? But TV Asahi is the owner and operator of New Japan World, and it owns the copyrights, right? You all remember how they just got rid of any clip sharing of New Japan on Twitter a few years ago, and all the copyright claims would come from TV Asahi. Well, there you go. And but Cyber Agent, like I said, has Wrestle Universe. So how the two are going to continue to coexist, that is a question. We're not quite sure. Also unclear at this point is how closely New Japan is going to work with Cyber Fight, of course, right? But we'll get in. We'll get maybe a little deeper into. We'll get maybe a little deeper into all of that. I just realized I don't have the right document open here. There we go, because I had two versions of it. There we go. That's much better. I just realized I didn't have the right open. So if we go back to the deal, Bushiroad sold, like we said, sold its entire stake, and TV Asahi already held like 22%, close to 23% as a minority shareholder. And the deal that they made there adds to that, bringing them to about 46%, around that combined. And CyberAgent goes from 0 to 46%, the exact same amount as TV Asahi. So there you go. The deal value is approximately around 3,597 million yen, which equates to about 24 million USD. And Bushiroad basically books a 1,616 million yen gain as to when they purchased them, already forecast into their books for the June 2026 earnings forecast. Now, this is all supposed to, the deal is not done. Like it hasn't been signed, sealed, and completely delivered. Now, this is something that's going to happen, but the closing of the deal is targeted for June 30th, pending Japanese antitrust clearance. The monopoly, are we going too far here? So on and so forth. So there's still that hurdle to cross. I'm assuming that in Japan, there's still like actual oversight for these kinds of things, for these kinds of purchases, these kinds of mergers. I'm assuming. So it's not necessarily a done deal just yet. Now, Dave Meltzer broke the purchase down, broke the purchase down a little more, and breaking down breaking down exactly what TV Asahi paid versus CyberAgent and so on and so forth. We're not going to necessarily get into all those very, very granular details, but Meltzer notes that the total company valuation implied by the deal is $32.4 million, all right, in American dollars, which he describes as, quote unquote, shockingly low to those involved in the wrestling business. He points out that New Japan at one point was valued at 20 to 25 billion yen, which would equate to 126 to 158 million dollars back in 2019, like when it was at its peak. So that was its peak valuation, had it at around 126 to 158 million, and now it was sold for 32.4 million. I guess this was a good time to pick up a wrestling promotion. Now, there's a lot of talk about how the structure is going to happen, what the structure is going to look like and whatnot. Is New Japan going to be a TV Asahi subsidiary? And from what we gather, yes, it does seem like they're going to make sure, since the two majority owners are level or on the same field, they can pretty much decide under which banner, under which administration, essentially, New Japan is going to operate. And it does seem like it's going to be under TV Asahi. Tanahashi had a statement directly confirming the framing itself. This is what he said, quote, "We will now strive as a consolidated subsidiary of TV Asahi with the support of CyberAgent." So that's pretty much consistent with what they said in the filing and what people were trying to piece together and make sure that everyone, nothing was lost in translation, mostly. But Tanahashi just flat out said it. We should also note that TV Asahi, like we said, co-owns New Japan Pro Wrestling World, the streaming service, holds the TV rights. So it just made more sense for the consolidation to happen under under TV Asahi, as opposed to becoming another cyber agent / cyber fight promotion. Now, why would they do this? Why would New Japan decide to why would Bushiroad decide to divest itself from New Japan? Bushiroad's stated position is that they built the brand, and now New Japan needs media and digital native owners to maximize to maximize streaming and video monetization. That's what they said. What that means in plain language is Bushiroad saying, we know we need better media coverage, but we don't know how to do it. Because we do collector cards and gotcha games. That's what we do. We want people to collect stuff and play our little mobile games. That's what we do. We don't know how to figure the rest of this shit out, type of thing. And that's very fair, because indeed Bushiroad has not been very good at doing that. So by heading over to Cyber Agent and with TV Asahi, well, TV Asahi obviously brings the broadcast infrastructure, right? Cyber Agent brings the Abima digital platform expertise, right? I'm not saying that they're going to transfer over to Abima. That's absolutely not what I'm saying, but there is an expertise there. There's knowledge, So, there's very, very coherent strategic rationale. And then, of course, there's the other consideration that a lot of people have pointed out. I will not be the first to mention this, but if it's the first you hear of it, then yes, I am the first to point it out. WWE, which is currently on Abima, will be leaving Abima later this year, likely heading to Netflix as their deal, WWE's deal with Abima / Cyber Agent comes to an end. So they're going to go to Netflix, because Netflix will be picking up all of the international deals as they expire. So they're going to be on Netflix Japan sooner than later. So New Japan could fill the vacuum on the platform now that pro wrestling is gone. Because don't forget, when you're like, well, they could put Noah, they could put DDT. You're not wrong, but they're also currently on their own platform, which is Wrestle Universe. And if you were to take either Noah or DDT off of Wrestle Universe, that's a huge hit. That is a tremendously huge hit that you're taking away from there. Could you replace it with New Japan? Sure, but then what do you want to do with New Japan World? Because for all intents and purposes, New Japan is hanging on to New Japan World. I mean, I think most of us would probably like New Japan would probably prefer, in fact, New Japan to be like on Wrestle Universe. And then on top of that, you'd get your New Japan and you'd get all of the other promotions that go along with it. But I don't think it's reasonable to believe that at this point, that not at least at this moment here, I don't think it's reasonable to think that they're going to shut down New Japan World, even though there's a lot of people who would really like it. A lot of people would really, really like it, but that's not quite it yet. So it's like so that's part of the rationale there, that they're probably New Japan will probably move in, because it's still the biggest promotion in Japan. We'll probably move in and take WWE's spot on the Abima platform, and that'll be that. And I'm sure there's another strategic consideration here, and chat sort of pointed it out, that New Japan financially is not doing great. Even though they had a terrific gate at Wrestle Kingdom this year, it's not necessarily something they'll be able to copy next year, not unless Hiroshi Tanahashi retires again. And then again, diminishing returns very, very quickly. No, but it hasn't been doing well since the pandemic. It really hasn't. And especially when you consider how good business was before the pandemic, New Japan has just had difficulty dusting itself off and getting back to even close to where it was. We're not even there yet, and but we'll eventually, hopefully we'll eventually get there. Now that they're going to be owned by a company which will probably have some interest in investing in them again, because there was probably high disinterest from Bushiroad to continue investing, to invest more money, new money into New Japan, and you could feel it. You could feel it in the production that hasn't changed in years. It's always the same thing, So it's like, maybe new money coming in, new company wants to spit shine the product. You throw a couple of tens of thousand million yens and whatnot, and you spruce up the product a little bit, which is definitely needed. Look, New Japan's not in a great spot, and Bushiroad knew it. I'm sure they're happy to offload it. I'm pretty sure they would have enjoyed a better price, but I wonder who's doing that is. Anyway, let me take a second here to say hello to Fred Moreland of the Good, Bad, the Hungry podcast over there at the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, where they talk about AEW. How you doing, Fred? He's been a member for 18 months of the Mr. WarrenHayes Show podcast. Finally, time for your Miyu Watanabe Bolton Oleg feud. That's what the people want. I mean, those are the crossovers that the fans are really excited about. It's funny, like I feel like Bolton Oleg would be like super awkward in this type of scenario, right? Like he'd be he'd be like very, very awkward. Not quite sure how to go about it. Don't think he'd be super comfortable. Rory Starks, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, Mythic Rare Toriano. That's the kind of thing you can collect, actually. Bushiroad knows their lunch is getting eaten, and without the funds of a booker, and without the funds or a booker that can make stars, New Japan Pro Wrestling is toast. Yeah, they need a money influx. They need to be, look, I mean, that's the reality. They have to be able to challenge. And yes, I mean, look, a new booker would be really nice, wouldn't it? If they move up the same production quality as Noah, that'd be great. I mean, yes. Noah's probably like it's probably the one of the prettiest promotions to look at, right? The production is great. Camera work is outstanding. Product's not great. So, you got to sometimes you got to put a little lipstick on the pig. I do what to women? And then Great O'Connor in the corner. It's like, I got this. That's fine. My takeaway is that New Japan is absurdly cheap. It's a very solid takeaway. Unfortunately, Gato probably isn't going anywhere. He's entrenched with people at Cyber Agent. I don't think anyone is losing their jobs. Like I don't think so. I don't think out the gate, I don't think anyone is losing their jobs. I don't think this is a situation where there's going to be a purge. I feel like New Japan has already, like, you start looking back at a lot of the moves that they made, divesting themselves of talent, not signing certain contracts, and you already feel like New Japan leaned itself out already, did whatever it could to just, appear more appealing for a sale. You know, when you look at it now, you remember a couple of, what is it, like a month ago, 2 months ago, tops? Where it's like, oh, Stardom is no longer under New Japan. It is back under Bushiroad. And everyone went, the fuck? Why? Who cares? Why do it in the first place then? Well, this was why. This was why. So anyway, we'll see how things go, right? But look, there's more there's more here to there's more to talk about here. Dave had some interesting notes on this end here as well. He quoted an unnamed major player in New Japan during its heyday, okay, who characterizes the sale as driven by Bushiroad's own portfolio priorities rather than anything WWE related, and describes the TV Asahi cyber agent pairing as, quote unquote, politically clean and culturally comfortable, a closed domestic conversation. Now, why did Dave bring that up? Well, because there's a lot of people who immediately went full conspiracy and was like, but this is probably WWE who managed to puppeteer this behind the scenes. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am a Japanese business specialist. I am not. But I know and understand enough to know and understand that Japanese business people in general are very weary with working or taking money from international sources, particularly the United States. They're it's a very hermetic, closed environment. They don't take kindly to other people coming in, like international interests coming in to take ownership in things that they own. They're very protective of that. That's all on them. That's good for them, right? And because there are pretty big cultural clashes between Japan and I'd say the United States. I'd even say us, Canada as well. So there's a lot of things that are very, very different. So when Dave says here, it's politically clean and culturally comfortable, then you're not rising any ire. It all stays on the island, and everyone is happy, and everyone speaks the same language, business wise, language wise. Linguistically, they all speak the same thing. So it was a bit of a stretch to be like, oh well, here's WWE puppeteering this. The cyber agent is not. The other thing is that cyber agent is not, it's not Anthem Entertainment, okay, where you could probably get where a major media company in the United States could probably get a company like Anthem to do whatever song and dance they want to do, right? But cyber agent is a big media corporation in Japan, so they're probably they hold their own. You come into our territory and you want us to dance for you? We don't feel compelled to do that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Buy airtime on our stations? Type of thing. So, it's like, it was a little, I don't think it was out of the realm of possibility, but, with Dave sort of coming into, with his reporting to confirm that no, there's no interference from any American companies here. Well, the opposite sounds a little more far-fetched. The source also suggests that Tony Khan was likely unaware of the sale in real time, and that selling to a foreign promotion would have created an entirely different level of political and structural friction. So TK was like, like he woke up yesterday morning with all of us and like, huh? What? What? We'll get to all of this in a second in regards to AEW. Because look, one would have probably assumed, before we get into, well, what does this mean for the New Japan? We'll get to that in a second. But since we're still talking on the business side, one would have assumed, mind you, okay, speculated that if Tony Khan knew that New Japan was up for sale, that he would have made an offer. He made a fucking offer for WWE. What was it? 6.9 billion that he put up, right? You're telling me that Tony Khan would not have put up $23 million to purchase New Japan Pro Wrestling 1972? What? No fucking way he wouldn't have done it. Are we kidding here? So I completely buy that TK was not even aware that this was going down. 100% aware. Because if he had been, there would have been an offer made. He would have put the money down, and then this would have caused political and structural friction. New Japan being turned into Ring of Honor Japan would have killed me. See, that I had thought about that, but then, I mean, we're talking hypotheticals here. It's not happening. But let's say TK had made the purchase. Okay, let's just roll with it for a second. And you're like, he would have had no choice but to get a team there that he could just delegate to and be like, make a good show, type of thing. Because he doesn't speak the language. He's not involved in the culture. He couldn't go in there and start booking this like Ring of Honor or like AEW. He just couldn't have. It would have just been impossible. Like there was no, just logistically, it's impossible. And there's New Japan has a whole different approach with the tours and the venues and what, like it's a whole different way of doing things than in North America. He could not have been involved in the day-to-day. He just impossible. He couldn't have done that. Now, am I saying that as a guarantee that a Tony Khan owned New Japan would not have sucked? No. But a New Japan without Tony Khan right now kind of sucks. TK not buying New Japan is a sign that AEW has 6 months tops. Yeah, exactly. That's how that is the perfect take. You absolutely have understood everything going on here. Dave also added some useful milestones to the New Japan World Growth Timeline, just to make sure that we understand like how this all worked. The service first crossed the 100,000 subscribers number after Omega versus Jericho at Wrestle Kingdom in 2018. I don't remember the number. And later spikes would then happen in 2023 when you got Okada versus White and Omega versus Ospreay. And then this year's Wrestle Kingdom had another big spike with Tanahashi's retirement match and Aaron Wolf debuting as well. Also, a couple of other milestones here on the Boom Era peak, or as I like to call it, the golden age of New Japan. The April 6, 2019 Madison Square Garden show that was done with Ring of Honor, but most people just saw it as the New Japan show because the Ring of Honor stuff was bad because it was poorly booked. You know who was booked by? It was booked by the bookers of TNA today. Anyway, it drew 16,634 people and did a $1.1 million gate, which is the largest non-WWE North American gate in history at that point. Should have said was as opposed to is. Wrestle Kingdom 2026 drew 46,913 people, a legitimate sellout of the Tokyo Dome, and 3.5 million TV viewers on TV Asahi for the same night tape-delayed broadcast, making it the most watched non-WWE wrestling TV show in the world this year. It's great. That is a really good rating. And we also should note the combined New Japan Stardom Q1 2026 gross was $13.8 million, up from $11.7 million the same quarter last year. So business is actually trending up heading into the sale, which Dave sort of wonders, why the low valuation. It's why is the valuation so low? It's just it is what it is. It just is what it is. I'm still angry about the MSG show as well. That show was just, and then Enzo and Cass trying to run an angle, and it was it ever confirmed as to whether or not it was like them trying to run an angle or if it was a work shoot? Because that was infinitely cringe. I remember that, and that was really, really cringe. Kristen Ashley, nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the show. You're also a member of the channel, and that is awesome. Everything I've heard is that it was a shoot. I think so too, right? That's all I've heard. I'm like these guys are complete buffoons. How they thought doing that to try and earn a spot was a good idea it's just fucking crazy. So Dave in his notes sort of addresses the role AEW may or may not have had in the sale, right? Because then, because that's something that instantly popped up. New Japan is being sold because AEW took all our stars and the company's suffering, and it's all AEW's fault again, right? The talent drain was, according to Dave, right, was decisive. Okada left for bigger money in the US. Naito's body broke down and they couldn't agree to terms. And Tanahashi's body broke down as well, but he retired. Top foreign stars, Omega, Ospreay, Jay White, all gone. Zack Sabre Jr. is the only one who stayed there among the top tier international names. Meltzer argues the result was that New Japan was feeling like a minor league group compared to the two major American promotions. And when the fan base could no longer claim that New Japan had the best talent in the world, its popularity started to decline. If there was only a way New Japan could have changed that perception, I wonder why. There was only if only New Japan had a couple of years that they could have, had some really interesting, talented, young up-and-comers that they could have pushed, just in preparation or just to be ready in case of talent leaving en masse like that. If only there was, if only New Japan had that type of situation, had all sorts of young talent that they could have pushed beforehand. And maybe could have helped the situation, but gosh darn it. And on that front, then, Dave argues that the New Japan talent exodus was inevitable with or without AEW. And this is something that I think a lot of people also need to realize, that in 2019, Omega and the Bucks were going to go to the WWE. They were 100% WWE bound regardless. AEW just showed up, or at least, they slapped it together. And that change the trajectory of where they were going. They were talking with Triple H. The Bucks confirmed it in their book that was the plan, that Kenny and the Bucks were heading to WWE. Dave also notes that Harold Mage, fond memories of the Harold Mage era, don't we have, chat? The guy who ran New Japan at the time, of course. He failed to recognize AEW as a serious company and passed on what could have been a very lucrative working relationship right off the bat in year one. But he shut everything down, and the Elite, everyone who left that year to AEW. So the Hangman, not just the Elite, right? Hangman, Trent and Chuck, everyone who left to go to AEW had become persona non grata, and that's why we called the event the Forbidden Door, because the door was closed. There was no way to get through this forbidden door until Harold Mage was kicked out, and then the boys that were in New Japan, that used to be in New Japan, rebuilt the bridges, which were easier to rebuild than people may realize. And that's why that's suddenly why the Forbidden Door entered the vernacular. So yeah, because that was part of Tony's vision at out the gate too, like to have a working relationship with international partners. Why do you think they ended up working with what was it called, CWE? Shima's promotion. The Chinese promotion. Do you think that was their first choice? Do you think that was the first choice? Of course not. OWE, that's it. I know it's something like that. All right, Oriental Wrestling Entertainment. That doesn't sound. That really doesn't sound right. So that's it. So I think Meltzer's framing here is pretty solid, and aligns with a consensus at least of reasonable people, right? But one thing, that like the minor league group thing, I think is kind of suffering from recency bias. I think there's a bit of recency bias to this, with Ospreay leaving, with Okada following suit. But like I said, that's a little bit on New Japan, a lot on New Japan, that they were just not ready for. They didn't have a contingency plan for talent leaving. They just didn't see it coming. They didn't have any foresight. Now, seeing that Bushiroad clearly had lost interest and didn't want to invest anymore, maybe there's a part of this where it's like, well, there was nothing we could do because Bushiroad was not necessarily interested in supporting New Japan like it used to. So all this talent are leaving and no one's holding them back. So maybe it's not a question of they didn't have the vision to do anything. It's more like, what can we do? Our owning company doesn't support us in the same way anymore. But I mean, regardless, they still could have started pushing the young guys like 4 years ago. They really could have started pushing, Umino and Tsuji, and then later, Yumera when he came back, and Oiwa when he came back. And they could have started that a lot earlier, but what do I know? So there you go. Now we do have some questions. Right? Such as, how closely will New Japan collaborate with the Cyberfight properties? Like Pro Wrestling Noah, like DDT, like TJPW, right? As it stands right now, New Japan is supposed to be its own entity away from Cyber Agent. Under TV Asahi. So maybe there won't be that much crossover, at least to begin with. And what does that mean with the relationship with AEW? I don't know. I'm sure Tony Khan was wondering the same thing. Like, he's probably made a couple of calls, right? Of course, he's probably chatted with a couple of people over there. Gave old President Tanahashi a call, congratulated him on the sale, and all of that, and basically said, "Are we good? Are we still okay?" And with CMLL, do we still have our triangle of partner promotions? Does that triangle still exist? Or is it going to just be like a one-way street now? It'll be interesting. Look, it'll be interesting to see how all these relationships change, if at all, or how they develop, how they grow. Maybe TV Asahi sees potential here. Maybe they're like, yeah, maybe we should work a little more with our partner promotions and do some cool stuff with them, because they've got the media mindset to help New Japan grow on that front, right? What does this mean for Stardom? That is a very good question. Stardom, by the way, completely excluded from the deal. As I mentioned earlier, they were removed from being under New Japan, right? Because if you recall, when Bushiroad purchased Stardom, they were a property under Bushiroad, and then later became a property under New Japan. So it was clearly like a sister promotion. And then I think it's been 2 months now, just a couple of months ago, was announced that Stardom was going to become a property under Bushiroad. Like, oh, interesting. Okay. None of us went, oh, wait a second. Is this sign of a sale? We all sort of shrugged. What the fuck, Okay, who cares, right? But Bushiroad is keeping Stardom, and Dave also confirmed that in his notes. And per the sale release, New Japan and Stardom are going to continue to work together. So I don't think tomorrow morning we're going to see the dissipation of the IWGP World Women's Championship or the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Although, who cares? Who cares if that happened? It's I don't think that's going to happen immediately. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but it's definitely something that right now you're kind of like, okay, well, it might, for the time being, it's pretty much going to stay status quo, and they're going to continue working together. That's as much as we know for now. But I can also understand why Bushiroad wanted to hang on to Stardom. There's a lot of folks who are like, well, why wouldn't you hang on to New Japan and so on? You got, like we said, Bushiroad are experts at, mobile games, gacha games, collector games. I don't know exactly how to call them. Card games, stuff like that. Like that's their area of expertise. So there's a lot of natural synergy that happens with Stardom because Stardom has culturally trained its fans to collect things from its wrestlers. So, some things a little more unsavory than others, some things a little more weird than others. But nonetheless, it still exists. It's all part of the idol culture and whatnot. So it makes a lot of sense that Stardom would stay with Bushiroad because they're probably making a pretty penny for Bushiroad on their digital platforms. That's what I would be thinking. I mean, Stardom is currently on a serious business upswing. It's been like that for almost a year at this point. Like really, really serious, right? They drew 8,015 fans at the Yokohama Arena for the All-Star Grand Queendom show. It's an all-time record for the company. Bushiroad keeping Stardom makes a lot more sense when you consider that the business is absolutely on an uptick. Your top star in Saya Kamatani is turning into is starting to have mainstream crossover appeal. She's showing up on, these dopey game shows that they have and these morning shows, whatever you call them exactly, not exactly the morning show, but like these interview shows and what she's doing all sorts of media. She's doing all sorts of stuff. She's catching fire on the mainstream. So yeah, you're not getting rid of that, especially if in your core business, which is all these digital apps, if they're making money for you on that front, well, of course you're gonna jump in and you're gonna hang on to that. You're gonna make sure that that's not part of the sale. So no, we're not getting rid of the property that is actually working right now. So good for Stardom. I think this is like that's a vote of confidence for Stardom for sure. And maybe, Bushiroad, maybe they'll thrive under Bushiroad. We'll continue to thrive. I mean, look, this Stardom has never thrived as much since not since they got rid of Rossi Ogawa, who is showing off to be more and more of a fraud every day. But I think that might be a rant for another day. Might actually prepare something. But I think there's a lot of the Hall of Fame aspirations that a lot of people had for Rossi Ogawa might be heading out the door. Marigold was a terrible move. It was just a terrible move. Anyway, but we're all wondering what's going to happen with AEW, what's going to happen with Stardom and New Japan. But to me, it's like, what's going to happen with Pro Wrestling Noah? I mean, technically speaking, if we're just talking about men's pro wrestling Noah is the second promotion in Japan, but by a wide margin. It's not even sniffing the boots of New Japan right now. We keep talking about New Japan as having it hard and so on and so forth. But these guys here, but Noah's not. It's no walk in the park for them. They might be the second biggest promotion in Japan, but that ain't saying much. The gap is huge. So, what is their spot in a world where Cyber Agent holds a major stake in the number one promotion in the land, a competitor? It's genuinely a complex thing, right? This really muddies up the waters. It makes things a lot murkier. I mean, you could ask the same question for DDT, but DDT doesn't have that same appeal. It's a little more niche. But these two promotions, at the very least, Noah, it's got to be some people in Noah going, wait, what the fuck is this? Cyber Agent double dipping, hanging on to a competitor. Look, I also understand that the vibe. In Japan is a lot more along the lines of a co-opetition, where there's more frequent talent exchange. They sometimes put on joint shows and whatnot. There's more of a feeling of cooperation, but despite the fact but they're still competing with each other regardless. Co-opetition. So, I know it's not necessarily a thing where it's just immediately, it's like, oh, my competitor is here. Will it be a situation where the rising tide raises all boats type of situation? I couldn't tell you. What I can tell you is that I think this is really how deep this goes. And this is all the information we can glean out of it for now. There's really like nothing else. Now we just have to see if it passes antitrust laws in Japan, the merger here, the acquisition, I should say. Does it pass antitrust laws in Japan? And if so, well, that'll be interesting and excellent to see how ultimately all that plays out. And this is all going to happen like on the cusp of the G1 this year too. So it's all very interesting. Again, we'll see how this all comes together. We'll see how it all comes together. But I mean, this is all I think we've broken down everything here. Talked about everything. You know, when you think about it, when you see certain moves that were made, there's a lot of moves that kind of make a lot more sense now. You know, the Aaron Wolf move, that makes a lot more sense. That definitely makes things much more appealing for TV Asahi to be able to go, yeah, you know what? We're going to have this household name in the company and we're going to be able to use them on our properties and whatnot. You know, they probably saw that immediately as that was probably a move that New Japan was like, well, maybe if we did this, we have an opportunity here to get into bed quicker with TV Asahi type of thing. And the Wrestle Kingdom the simultaneous broadcast, if you ask me at this point, it was absolutely 100% an audition to see how well it would be received, how many people would watch, what kind of interest they could generate. It was 100% an audition at this point. You look back at all these little things and you're like, oh yes, these are all moves that were clearly made to make AEW, not AEW, but to make TV Asahi much more interested in purchasing New Japan. I am 100% confident in that. Not saying it's true, saying I'm confident. Anyway, to be continued, but this is huge news. This is probably going to end up being one of the biggest news stories of the year. So we will see what happens. Thank you all for being here, by the way, and hanging out. Ogawa just made people realize it was a fraud and discuss his more troubling predictions. Oh, predilections, excuse me. Yep. I mean, this fucking guy. You remember how Marigold, when it started, it was supposed to cause this great exodus from Stardom. All these wrestlers that were going to follow him. We had Mayu and Tom and and Julia and Utami Hayashishita. Look, ends up when he left, 2 of them followed. No, 3, right? It was 3 of them who followed. Since then, 1 of them left for WWE, 1 of them left to go freelance, and another left to come back to Stardom in Utami Hayashishita, which makes me very happy because Utami is an excellent pro wrestler. I can't believe, look, and then you have this guy, fucking Hatman Ogawa, who like in interviews, and I think I even talked about it on stream at some point. Like he's talking about the girls who work for him, and he starts calling Utami Hayashishita fat. Like he outright tells, it's in the interview, is saying, yeah, she's getting kind of fat. Like, Jesus Christ, this fucking guy who apparently had the magic touch, right? He was supposed to be behind the beauty pair. Was it the beauty pair? Was it the beauty pair or the Crush Gals? I think it was the beauty pair that we're supposed to credit him for. but there's a lot. There's a lot of. I think there's a lot of stretching of the truth here, because everyone you talk to, like, who is not a Rossi Glazer, will tell you, yeah, Rossi Ogawa back in All Japan, he was just a photographer. Like, he was not like this creative mastermind. He was, and then the promotion that he started before Stardom and after AJW, what was it? I can't remember the name. I have like Arrowhead, but I know it's not that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That promotion had a nice little success, and Stardom started off with a lot of promise and was always considered to be the high bar in Joshi afterward. And he changed the way Joshi was approached too, right? Don't forget that. He changed the entire way Joshi was approached, where before it was sports, it was hitting hard. It was, the glory days of AJW in the 90s. When you've got the Manami Toyotas and the Akira Hokutos, and I'm completely drawing blank. Yeah, the Aja Kong, all that era of extraordinary wrestlers, and then he changes it into more petite wrestlers who don't. It's not necessarily about hitting hard and being, I don't want to say athletic, but now it's more like, doing acrobatic things and flying around and being spectacular, as opposed to beating the piss out of each other, right? That's what changed. We changed the whole formula. But Stardom never, everyone was kind of like, well, Stardom is successful, but not majorly successful. It's just like, well, at least it's staying afloat. But it never was majorly successful until Bushiroad bought it and kicked Rossi out. If you ask me, this guy's influence in the industry is highly overrated. Marigold and WWE ID were two things that where I definitely doomed for the wrestling industry, and then it didn't matter almost immediately. Did you all see the Timothy Thatcher infomercial that he posted on Twitter, trying to get promoters to book WWE ID people? That is pretty sad. That's really sad. It's tremendously sad, where the worldwide leader has to go and beg indie promoters to book their book their indie people. It's pretty sad. Yes, Arison, that's the one I was looking for. No, you didn't. None of you saw that. I'd play it, but I'm afraid I'll be copywritten. I'm afraid I'll get claimed. Should I play it? Hang on a second. If you haven't seen it, I think it's worth. I think it's worth seeing it. I have to go. Let me go check on their Twitter account here. Hopefully, I don't have to scroll too low. Tweeting about evolve. Okay, no. Okay, I got it here. Well, shush. I don't watch Evolve, but Timothy Thatcher is referred to as the foreman of Evolve, the foreman. And he's got like he's got a hard hat. Well, come on, man. You were playing. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's give this a shot.
Well,
see, there's this hard hat right there.
I wear a lot of different hats around here. I am the foreman of WWE Evolve.
He's the foreman, and he clunk clunk. He's just to sell the fact that it is indeed a hard hat.
But I'm also still active on the independent wrestling scene.
Yes, to a degree.
As well, I work for WWE ID as a player coach.
Now, what is... So he's the foreman of he's the foreman of this outfit, and he's also active on the indies, and he's a player coach for WWE ID. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does he have a WWE ID too? TSG, nice to see you and welcome.
Now, those ID talents that you see here on Evolve, they're available to wrestle for you at your local independent.
Okay, this is what I was talking about. Do you see how fucking sad that was? This is WWE, and they're saying, hey, all of these talent here that we work with here at Evolve are available to wrestle for you at your local wrestling outfit. Oh my God. Like, do you realize how poorly bookings have to be going for these ID kids? How little return on investment WWE is getting for this program because no one's booking them? Look, the only ID people that I see regularly booked on indies, it's Starboy Charlie, Jack Cartwheel, but he's injured, but nonetheless, like, he's part of it. Marcus Mathers. Who else? Who else do we see like on the indie circuit running around? Lainey Luck, a couple of times I've seen her. Like, who?
We've even seen Evolve champion Aaron Rourke defend the title on ID showcases hosted by future stars of wrestling and Beyond Wrestling.
Name dropped Booker T's promotion and Beyond, because they're working hand in hand here with the foreman of Evolve to make sure that this happens.
There's a lot of exciting independence about. There's reality of wrestling. There's a Rocky Mountain Pro. There's freelance wrestling. And there's Memphis wrestling. That's just
there's Memphis wrestling, huh? Sure.
Just to name a few. When I come to your town, not only am I there to test my opponent, also there to scout, because you never know when a new prospect is going to be ID.
So essentially, what he said, that's the anime girl straight out of the pages of a manga, right? That's her, right? Isn't that what, anyway? That terrible promo, right? That's her, I think, right? Again, like, Timothy Thatcher is there telling you, yeah, you know, if you hire me to come wrestle, you know, I'm also going out there as a scout, so I might scoop up your local talent and whisk them away. Like, motherfucker. Like, what are we doing? You know, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, if I come wrestle in your town, I'm also acting as a scout. You know, who knows what talent I could bring back to and give a WWID to. Like, Jesus Christ, brother. You think a local indie was going to be, look, all of the smaller indies, they're all aware. They all know that eventually most of their top talent is going to get signed somewhere, that they understand their role in the chain. But outright saying, yeah, I'm going to come in and I'm going to scoop up your talent. Jesus.
All right, then. Howie, let's get back to work.
That's probably his catchphrase, I guess, on the Evolve. That is an extremely sad video to post publicly. Like, why isn't Gabe Sapolsky calling up all his contacts and making this work? Why is he not just calling up people? Now, of course, you're going to have scummer promotions that are going to see this and go, I'm going to, you know, they're going to get inundated by fucking, you know, half-ass promotions that people don't know about or are run by complete scumbags, and they're going to send the ID people over there. And it's going to reflect poorly on the ID system, because the ID system is not featured on like the big indies, right? The ones that people actually tune in to watch. Like West Coast Pro, for instance, you know? Anyway, Didn't know y'all hadn't seen this, so it was my pleasure to share. Indies are good when their talent is scooped up to go to a major promotion, less so when it's them still working indies and Tubi and forcing a higher rate with more onerous booking requirements. I don't disagree. That is a good take. Patrick, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also, he happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. WWE ID, please let us come work your mud shows. Oh my God, he just admitted it. .gif. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Anime girl straight out of a manga panel is one of the best moments of the year. It's so funny. It's really funny. It's something that only the nerds get, but it's really funny. Anya Rune. That's her name. Anya Rune. The anime girl, right? Out of a manga, straight out of a manga panel. The anime girl straight out of a manga panel. Back to the board. Jesus Christ. We've only had one topic. We've only did one topic. The fuck's wrong with me? Alongside the news that New Japan Pro Wrestling was sold to Cyber Agent and TV Asahi, the end of AEW on New Japan World is also coming soon for those in Japan, or so says our friend Josh Nason off of this article on Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. Announced Wednesday by New Japan Pro Wrestling, archived episodes of Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, Battle of the Belts, and AEW Now will... What the fuck is AEW Now? What is AEW Now? What is that? Like, I'm legitimately asking, what is AEW Now? Does anyone know what that is? Like, it's not even on my AEW. I don't know what that is. Someone's got to know what that is. All right. I'm sure Mr. Antox will figure it out. He knows all this shit. Antox has our back. Anyway, all of this content will no longer be available to those in the country in Japan after August 31st, 2026, when their contract ends. Starting in late June, new episodes of Dynamite and Collision will also cease to be uploaded. We're talking about the June 24 and June 27 episodes. There is one exception, the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door pay-per-views, which are still available for purchase and viewing. That is assumed to also include next month's pay-per-view in San Jose, California. The reason for all this is the My AEW service, which the announcement directed fans toward. The streaming service was created due to the dissolving of AEW's Triller relationship, which gave international fans the ability to watch their weekly TV and buy pay-per-views. The content relationship began in April 2022 with episodes of Dynamite and Rampage available at no extra cost to New Japan viewers in Japan. And yeah, this news comes on the same day that TV Asahi and Cyber Agent took full control of New Japan from Bushiroad. So, you know, it's really two separate things. They just decided to announce them both on the same day. It comes across a little strange. Maybe there is something a little more to it. I don't think there's that much more to glean out of it, quite frankly. It's pretty straightforward. The deal was coming up and it's not going to be renewed because Tony Khan was like, no, I'm going to work my own international streaming service with my AEW. So I'm going to get my stuff off of your platform and thank you. And here's the other thing. Maybe there'll be an exchange the other way. You know, maybe look, but that because Tony Khan did say that he wanted to add on more promotions, right? Onto my AEW. It's on the docket. We might get to it tonight. Who knows? But you know, he might essentially this makes a lot of sense where Tony Khan is like, no, I'm betting on this platform for my international viewing. I'm going to bring everything home. It just makes sense. Why would he continue to spread the content around like that when he has his own platform now that he wants to use to grow internationally? Yeah, why would he do that? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I think it's a coincidence. I think it's a coincidence more than anything else. I don't think it has anything to do with the sale. I don't think it's an indicator of the relationship that now suddenly exists with Cyber Agent, or TV Asahi. Like, it just wouldn't make sense. But, that Tony Khan would be like, yeah, let's do that. But announcing both things on the same day, well, that's a little weird. If anything, I think it might be a situation where, the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. Like, let's say, whoever was working on putting the announcement together, which was probably, maybe even Chris Charlton. Chris Charlton is putting his announcement together because it's like, okay, Chris, you got to do a little announcement on Wednesday. You got to let the people know about the AEW content leaving the platform. All right, mate. I'll whip something out for you, mate. Between a nice cuppa with a scone. That's my Chris Charlton impression. Please don't send it to him. And then what between and that, so he prepares all of that essentially for social media. And then in the meantime, there's the big business honchos, who haven't communicated to any of the subordinates that the sale was happening, and they just drop that on the same day, and they're like, holy fuck, and Chris Charlton's like, oi. I like Chris. I want to make that clear. I really, really, really like Chris Charlton. It's more reflection on me that this is how poor my impression of an Englishman sounds. Like that. It's more of a reflection on me than a reflection on Chris. Come to think of it, if you do want to send it to him, that's fine. He'll probably just make fun of me. Like, look at this guy. And that's what I deserve, honestly. I need to be shamed for this. I shouldn't. What I did just a few seconds ago, I should never do that ever again. I need to be shamed for this. I need to be taught a lesson. So, I myself, as a VPN user, I have attempted to watch AEW programming on New Japan World, and at some point when it was a little more difficult to get, especially with Collision, when Collision started, it was a little difficult to get around here. You had to use the TSN app, and look, my Canadian brothers and sisters and everyone in between, you can back me up. The TSN app is fucking ass. It's just the TSN app is ass. We actually call it the TSN ass here. No, we don't. But the so it was difficult essentially to watch it, and then at some point I realized, in Japan they have access to Dynamite and Collision. But it wasn't like it was a couple of days later that it was released on the platform, because I think they did like localized commentary for it, and I think it's that's why. So it was never next day, it was never same day. When it was never next day, it was a couple of days, and I was like, this is unsustainable to me. The VPN is still nice. VPN, by the way, NordVPN, affiliate link below. Go check that out. So yeah, what was I saying? What were we talking about? I think I said everything that needed to be said about this. and it somehow devolved into me trying to impersonate Chris Charlton very, very poorly. Anyway, so all the content is gone or is leaving in August. Which then I would assume that there is going to be a proper launch of My AEW in Japan. Unless it's already accessible in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. It's just there's probably, that's the thing, is that there's a fair chance that the that the people who enjoy AEW in Japan probably already have a New Japan World subscription. And now Tony's like, no, let's bring these people over to our side and use our app, right? But yeah, maybe this will have an adverse effect too. Maybe, the people will keep their New Japan World. How many people were actually invested in AEW or will actually do the jump, right? That I'm legitimately curious to know. Because you could also say, like, how many people were watching AEW because it was available to them as an extra on their New Japan World subscription. It was there. The content is there. So they started watching it there. And once it disappears, will they follow? Will they follow suit and jump to my AEW? This is a hypothetical. I don't have the answer. I'd like to see the stats of that once that's launched. That would be very interesting to see. I won't see them. I won't get to see them. I need a whole show of Warren doing a British impression. No. Well, look, give me a week of watching Faulty Towers for a week and then we do it. I think if I watch a full week of John Cleese in Faulty Towers, I think I'll be fine. I think I'll pick it up. I'll be all right. But you got to give me a week. The TSN app can fuck right off. That's right. It is a piece of shit app. It really is. Obscurity Knox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Much like Manitoba, TSN is fetid ass. That, by the way, is my hardcore punk band's name, Fetid Ass. Yes, see, it would be great fun research. Canadians barely get Collision. Yeah, exactly. It's really rough. It's rough out here, you guys. It's rough out here. What the fuck is AEW now? It doesn't matter. Let's get back to the board so we can knock a couple of topics out of the way. Little update on our Best of Super Juniors tournament. I'm gonna try and keep this short because I have thoughts, but I think I'm gonna do a proper wrap up once. Righty, what's wrong with me? I think I'm gonna hold on to my thoughts to do a proper wrap up once the tournament is over. I think that's probably the best. That's probably the best scenario, quite frankly. But as it stands right now in the tournament, we are way past the halfway point. We are getting into the home stretch, actually. Block A has Titan leading the pack still at 10 points. And he is the only competitor in the entire tournament who is in the double digits. Master Wato, Jun Kasai, Francesco Akira all have 8 points. Taguchi, Nick Wayne, Kosei Fujita, and Robbie X are all at 6 points. Valiente Jr. at 4, and he is also eliminated from the tournament. And so is Daiki Nagai. He was eliminated a couple of nights ago. He is at 0 points. When it comes to the B block, at the top we have Sho and El Desperado tied at 8 points. Daisuke Sasaki, Yo, Taiji Ishimori, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Robbie Eagles all in the logjam at 6 points. And Hayo, Jacob Austin Young, and Kushida round up the bottom at 4. So as you can tell right now, both blocks are going through different things right now. Block A has a clear top of the pack leader, a couple of people pulling away. Whereas in Block B, it's essentially still everyone's game. Like mathematically, there's no one you can eliminate. Everyone is still within reach to getting into the first or second spots of the tournament. That's pretty much it. There's a lot of elimination there. Well, I mean, of course there's a few elimination scenarios here that exist, but I don't know if I want to get into them. You know, I took a bunch of notes, looked up at a bunch of stuff, and I don't know if there's anything all that interesting. You know, like Titan is quite possibly going to qualify. He has 3 matches left. He has Kosei Fujita, Francesco Akira, Nick Wayne. He has a pretty rough out right now. His final few matches are going to be quite demanding. So, you know, I think he controls his own destiny at this point. Even if he's 1-2 in remaining matches, he'll have 12 points. You know, and he'll likely advance depending on tiebreakers. You know, he's fine. Master Wato has 2 matches left. He's at 8 points. So, like, the maximum he can get is 12 points, right? So if Titan goes 2-1 or better in remaining matches, and Titan finishes at minimum 14, Wato's 12 would not catch him, but he could still qualify potentially for the second spot. Same thing with Jun Kasai, who's got 2 matches left, and one of them is against Master Wato, and against Taguchi. So he's kind of in the same situation. It's kind of the same situation with Francesco Akira. So, you know, there's still a lot of jockeying that is probably going to happen around the second spot as opposed to the top spot. But yeah, other than that, there's 2 guys who are completely eliminated. Valiente Jr., I'm going to tell you, kind of disappointed in his performance in the tournament. I don't think he was particularly good. I think it was kind of boring. I don't think it was interesting in the slightest. So, you know, hopefully, you know, maybe he'll pull out with he'll exit the tournament with some top level performances. But I was expecting something a little more exciting. I was expecting him to really, you know, jazz it up with some great lucha libre, but that clearly wasn't it. You know, like, you know, the star of A Block, the stars of A Block have been Kosei Fujita and Jun Kasai. Those have been the 2 stars. Francesco Akira has been very good. I think Nick Wayne's been fine. Nick has been fine, but again, here's another guy that I thought would have had a breakout performance. It's fine. You know, he's not blowing me away, but he's not terrible either. He's doing well. He's doing well for himself. Good little lad. And of course, Titan is doing very good. Robbie X is also having a great moment too. So, and B Block stinks. I mean, B Block, when just looking at the composition when they were announced, it wasn't a great setup to begin with. I don't think it's a particularly good block. And Night 8, which was mostly B Block, there was one A Block match on it, which was Jun Kasai and Jesus, I just watched it today. Jun Kasai and Francesco Akira, which is pretty good. But the rest of the B Block matches, man, there is so much nonsense on these matches. Like between the 2 House of Torture members, okay, between those 2 guys, you've got Kushida, who has decided that he's doing a barefoot sock gimmick where he's wrestling all of his matches barefoot now and using his sock as a Mr. Socko Mandible Claw Mankind situation. And that's fucking annoying because then the worst elements all play into it as well. And then Daisuke Sasaki, who I've been told about, I'm not familiar with his work, but he's another scummer cheater type of guy. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then Hayo runs around with a fucking stuffed animal, with a stuffed leopard. And his match that he had with Sho on night 8 was all about the fucking leopard, because Show on the night previously on the multi-man matches, he stole the leopard and put him in a cage, and now he's running around with the stuffed animal in a cage, and now Hayo is distraught and he's trying to save him, and it's all, I'm like, can't I just have some fucking wrestling matches? Why is there so much shtick? And Robbie Eagles, God bless the man. I think he's tremendous. I think he's going to be remembered as one of the most underrated and underappreciated wrestlers of this era. But he has very weird instincts and he can play into this stuff. Like, this is a guy that does not need to do grab ass goofy shit, but he leans into it and he's comfortable doing it. And then Jacob Austin Young is another guy who cheats. He has always got Zane J accompanying him. So there's like, everyone's fucking cheating and doing grab ass goofy shit throughout the B block. Yo is the same. B block is legitimately a terrible block, and they gave us a terrible night 8 of pro wrestling. I was out of my mind. I just, my kingdom for a wrestling match. And it's crazy because this tournament started off so good, and now granted, we're in the doldrums of the tournament. We've passed the midway point. We're heading into the final stretch. This is usually when things, and it's the same thing with the G1, this is usually when things get a little harder to watch. It's a little more, it's a little tougher. And so I understand, okay? It's all right. But Christ almighty, all of these people here on night 8 just delivered all the most substandard, average performances you could imagine. Listen, if you've got a guy like Taiji Ishimori, who is actually putting in effort in this tournament, and everyone else is just like, if this is what they're all up to, what the fuck are we doing here? I was not impressed with day 8, and like the B block had started to get on my nerves, and I was here complimenting this tournament on this very fucking stream, telling people, at least, the nonsense, they get in and out of it done. It's done in and out quickly. These are short 2-3 minute matches, so you never have to worry, so on and so forth. And you're like, and now it's like, it's everywhere. Everyone on B block has shtick, has a gimmick, has a stupid thing that they have to do that becomes the centerpiece of the thing. Like Kushida and his fucking barefoot shit. I thought it was so cool when he did that with Robbie Eagles on night 1, and then they just kept bringing it back and using it, and now it's like I'm stuffing socks in people's mouths. Jun Kasai is a guy who is a gimmick wrestler. Like, he's a deathmatch wrestler. That's what he does. And his shit that he does with the skewers and the forks and pulling out chairs and blading and all that actually, like, they make an effort for it to work within the context of the match, and it actually adds to the match, as opposed to all of these fucking ding-dongs in Block B. Most of them. Kushida is an offender. Yo is an offender. Robbie Eagles he's an accomplice, okay? He's an accomplice. Jacob Austin Young, offender. Sho, one of the biggest offenders. Yoshinobu Kanemaru, offender. Hayo, offender. Daisuke Sasuke, offender. Got El Desperado and Taiji Ishimori, the only two guys where I cross my fingers and I'm like, please keep this on the rails. Please, guys. Anyway, that's where I am with the Best of Super Juniors. That's where we're at right now. I didn't know if you heard Dave Meltzer is under the impression, has the data, he's seen the numbers. He is saying that AEW Double or Nothing was a huge success on pay-per-view. He addressed this. We're reading this article here on the Figure 4 Online Observer website. Dave Meltzer addressed the show on the post AEW Dynamite edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, noting that he believes it will end up in the top 5 or 6 AEW pay-per-views of all time. Meltzer said, quote, a huge success. I don't know if it'll beat All In, the Globe Life Field show last year. It's too early to tell. It was the biggest that they've ever done on HBO Max, but HBO Max started after the All In show. So to me, the big thing was, would they be able to beat Revolution? To me, that was the goal, and Revolution did a big number. He's talking about Revolution this year, not Sting's retirement. To me, that was the goal, and Revolution did a big number. Revolution was the biggest since All In, and they beat that Revolution, and they beat Revolution by a fairly significant margin. The only numbers that I've seen were 15% up from Revolution. I think that's a little bit higher than it's going to end up, but again, I've only heard some stuff. That would bring it, if I remember correctly, that would bring it around 200,000 buys, right? I could be wrong, because as you know, math is not my forte. But let's continue his quote here. But I think it's pretty clear that it will be among your top 5, 6 pay-per-views in the history of AEW. It's not going to beat the Sting retirement. It's not going to beat that big one in Chicago when Punk had his first match there and everything, where they set the record. It's not going to beat the first Wembley. Those 3 it won't beat. But as far as spots 4, 5, 6, I think it's possible that it may beat some of them. Meltzer and Brian Alvarez also discussed AEW's history of pay-per-view numbers for shows with stipulations. Meltzer noted AEW adhering to its stipulations regarding Cody Rhodes never challenging for the AEW World Championship again after his 2019 loss to Chris Jericho, Bryan Danielson not wrestling again after losing the AEW World Championship to Jon Moxley, and Sting staying retired after his final match. This is what Dave had to say about that. As far as I can recall, they haven't reneged on a stip. And the last 2 pay-per-views the last 2 pay-per-views that did real big numbers were both stip involved. Danielson said he was going to retire, and Danielson hasn't done another match. Sting said he was going to retire. Sting hasn't done another match. They've actually been really good at this. So that's the news on that point. In regards to Double or Nothing. I mean, that's tremendous. I mean, look, we knew it was going to be an attendance success, and it was sold out. Second biggest gate in the history of AEW on North American soil, right? The only show that did bigger was gate wise was All In last year. So I mean, that's tremendous. Kind of makes you wonder, should we have kept the belt on Darby a little more? Or is this a combination? Is this like Darby and MJF, you know? But you know how we like to do it here. We like, when we talk about the attendance and whatnot and the drawing power and the success a company is having at any given time, you have to turn to see who's at the top, right? You see who's driving the boat, who's attracting the eyeballs. What's different between now and Revolution? Let's say, well, Darby Allin is world champion, right? That's the main difference. But then again, MJF, who is, slowly building a case as a viable draw as well. He's, if you combine the two, put them in a main event, did this turn out to be 2 of your biggest drawing stars? Or is this a situation where the story, the angle that you've been telling around Darby Allin, the story that you've been telling around this guy over the past few weeks, did it generate enough interest and buzz to get people en masse to order the pay-per-view? That is also possible. I mean, it was an excellent story. It was a very exciting run that Darby had. Objectively, it was very, very exciting. So imagine that, your world title situation being dynamic and fun and different, having challengers coming in from all sides, Darby challenging every week, piques people's attention. They're like, can he do it again? And the great build that they made for Double or Nothing. Look, I talked about it here, that for the longest time, I was 100% convinced that Max was going to win. But as we got closer to the event, I wasn't so sure anymore because of how just little nuggets of information that they were putting down. I started creating doubt, a lot of doubt. And then Mick Foley cutting that promo on the pre-show absolutely just destroyed me. And I was like, okay, so there's a fucking chance that Darby might win here. And then, well, what did it do? It got me invested. They did an excellent job getting people invested into this pay-per-view, this match. So that might be a possibility. Is there a possibility that wrestling fans watching another promotion have gotten fed up, are feeling the malaise of watching their other favorite promotion just, be average and tanking, and maybe they're like, let's give this a shot? I heard this AEW stuff is really good, that these pay-per-views are must watch. We'll plunk down the $40 or 20 quid or whatever. Give it a shot. Maybe. Fed up. Wish I had thought of that. Which I had pointed it out. Might be a combination of all three. But here's the thing. Ultimately, whether Darby is the draw, whether Max is the draw, whether the story of Darby's title reign is the draw, here's the lesson that we have to learn here, folks. Okay? This is the lesson that we have to learn here. Regardless of how we got here, regardless of the exact specific reasons, whether it's Darby, it's Max, it's the story, it's a combination of all that, it's Darby Allin as a world champion that created these records. Darby Allin, the guy who, when he beat Max within under 3 minutes, this is the guy that all of the know-it-all experts, all of the people who know wrestling so well, climbed onto their social media platforms and started screaming at the top of their lungs, this is the worst decision ever. He's not a world champion. He is not credible as a world champion. They're going to kill their own business. AEW done in 6 months, etc., etc. You know who they are. You know exactly who they are. The same usual bunch of dummies who think that they know everything and do not have any finger on the pulse just because they have an agenda. They have things that they have to make sure that they push forward. Please, whoever, right? All of these same fucking dummies are going to look at this now. There is tangible proof that Darby Allin as a world champion worked, because they filled out a stadium in downtown New York, sold out, not a single spot left for anyone to attend. And then on top of that, might be setting a new pay-per-view buy record. So, again, I often say this when these situations occur, when these types of situations happen, where reality completely confounds what these idiot grifters talk about. It is time for you to purge your timeline of anyone who thought who believed, who tried to make you believe that this Darby thing wouldn't work out, that it was a waste of time, that it was just useless, that he's not a real world champion, that he wasn't deserving, so on and so forth. It's time to jettison these people away. Get them out of your sight. Mock them if you may, but do not pay them any heed. I would not be entertaining any wrestling pundit, any written or audio or video. I would not be entertaining anyone who sat by all of this saying with conviction that the Darby thing wouldn't work and that it would tank the business, and then we get these results. Those people are to be shunned and mocked. And you all know who they are. Most of them. But the facts are right there. The facts are absolutely right there. I don't know what to tell you. The facts are there. The Darby Allin experiment, it fucking worked. It just worked. Yes, booed until your throat is sore. It's time to tell those people their opinions are worth as much as cheap toiletries. That's so elegantly said. Anecdotal, sure, but I've been getting more suggestions for YouTube videos like, I tried watching AEW for the first time and I liked it. I've also been seeing more of those. Of course, clicking on them to see a little bit probably helps, but because I am genuinely curious when I do see some of those pop up and I go in and, and then it's like another content creator is like, yeah, WWE, it kind of lost me, and now I'm watching AEW and I kind of like it, and it's like, and their analysis is surface level, and it's fine. I'm not saying these are not dummies. Like, these are not people going out and saying the Darby Allin experiment is not going to work. Where are the stories? Like, it's not those type of people. So they work towards a certain audience, and that's fine. Just like I work towards a certain audience, and that's fine as well. But at least they're being honest with their stuff. Some people are just like completely into it and are trying stuff out, and they're like, yeah, this absolutely rocks, and honestly, good for them. Honestly, good for them if they can get exposed to some real professional wrestling. They'll see the difference. That's for sure. They will see the difference. They're almost too positive. They praise even the segments that are mid-stinks. Look, everyone's entitled to a honeymoon period, right? Everyone's entitled to a honeymoon period. It's the flirtation period. You're like, ooh, yeah. Ooh, this feels good. Tee. It's one of those. Online React YouTube does this with everything. Camera influencers change their brands every 6 to 12 months to see once they see their numbers go down. Oh, I know. There's some of them that you see that it's not quite sincere, but you see that there's a couple of others where you're like, they're really able to articulate like all the reasons why they dumped WWE, and you're like, oh, okay, you're making very salient points here. You're not just someone chasing views, but I know everyone does that. That's what you got to do. Otherwise, you get kicked out of the algorithm. You don't show up in the recommended feeds anymore. I wanted to talk about the the Vince and Nick Khan being in trouble. But I think what I'll do, because I did want to record a bit of content this weekend for the podcast and make it available for members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show in early access. So I think I'm going to slide that. We're going to slide that over to the podcast. We won't talk about it live on stream, but I will talk about it on the podcast. And I'll record a nice little something this weekend. And members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel will then have access to that. Early access, I should say. So there you go. Because yeah, like I'm going to have to put together the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast by Sunday, because I will have no time to record or add anything until Wednesday. So by Sunday, you should have the Mr. Warren Hayes Show available for members first in early access. So there you go. See, a nice little perk when you're a member. So hit the join button, become a member. I wonder if these are mostly the people who came in during the WWE hot period and aren't the Stockholm syndromed fans that survived the VKMF era. These are 100% post-pandemic era fans. These are bloodline fans. Absolutely 100%. These are absolutely, unquestionably, in my mind, all bloodline fans. And now they're experiencing their first pro wrestling cycle, because this is all cyclical, right? Where you come in, there's a boom period, and then things start to taper off. The angles aren't as hot. It's not as good. Then you're like, oh, what's going on? But you're like, it's wrestling. It's cyclical. And in a couple of years, it'll get hot again. It's just the nature of the business. It's been like that for decades. That's just how it goes. You get a couple of years where you're really fucking hot, and then beep, 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 beep. No. It's the one bit of variety I don't mind, since we had like 3 back-to-back serious wrestling matches. Women's 4-way, Bandito, Swerve, and Mox O'Reilly. I'm sorry. I must have missed something. Oh, the Stadium Stampede. Oh, this conversation doesn't involve me. Post-pandemic WWE fans brought about the stupidest shit, like Chef Shawn Michaels. Oh, the damage done to NXT is something that needs to be it's something that needs to be discussed in The Hague. That's just absolutely preposterous what happened there. I think it used to be like that during the monopoly era of WWE. It felt like it felt like there weren't hot periods, just slight cooling. No, but because they didn't have competition. So they didn't have to try. That's the thing too. Like, you didn't have to try. That's all you had. And you can go back, just go to the Monday Night Wars. And you had WCW coming in with with the Hogan heel turn in the NWO, and that created a boom period for WCW. And then WWE decided to bank on Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then you had another kid called Dwayne Johnson that was just ready to go. And they had their boom period there. Then, of course, it all comes to an end at some point. It's just how it goes. It's always the same thing. Look at New Japan. Look at the 2010s in New Japan. Just an absolutely insane period for pro wrestling in Japan. And then, things start to dwindle, and now look where we are. Look at All Japan Pro Wrestling. Look at Pro Wrestling Noah. It's and sometimes, look, in some circumstances, it's taking a long fucking time to get to the next boom period, but those are how the cycles go. It's just like that. Good job, Warren, as long as you name the member episode Metal Angus. I just might. Because I get a good job. Thank you. I appreciate the shout out of me doing a good job. I appreciate that tremendously. And I appreciate everyone for showing up here tonight on this lovely Thursday. Quick programming note, once again, very quickly, no stream on Monday. I will be unavailable. There will also be the Dynamite review next week will be delayed. And the Mr. Warren Hayes show will be coming out earlier this week. So might not be the full breadth of content, but there will be a Mr. Warren Hayes show that will be recorded this weekend, available to members on Sunday, and otherwise released at its usual date on Wednesdays. So there you go. And after that, we'll be back into the normal swing of things. And maybe I'll have bought my redemption tickets. Maybe I'll have made the purchase by then. Maybe. Anyway, we'll see. But that's it for now. We're done for now. We're done for tonight's edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thank you all very much for dropping by. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I did tremendously. Y'all were a blast. And, well, there you go. I think that's all I have to say. Best I just bid you adieu then. Have a great rest of your week. And, yeah, don't do anything stupid. How about that? I'll see you next time.